Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome to another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. Now, today on the show, with your lovely co-hosts, myself, Evan Davies, and our favorite Oscar, and I'm telling you, Oscar's expert, Dylan Davies.
Oscars fan.
You've devoted a lot of your life to the goddamn Oscars, dude.
Yeah, that is very true.
You've devoted a ton of your life to the Oscars since you were a teenager, so respect on that. We are going to be doing a new segment, or a new topic of the show, called Oscars, Opinions, and Retrospective. In this show, we're going to be covering 5 years of Oscar history as we build towards... We're going to do it monthly, so that we're building towards the release of the 2025 Oscars, which is for the 2024 movies that were coming out this year. In this show, we're going to be covering the 6 big categories of every single Oscar of those 5 years. Plus, if there's some categories that we just think were completely done incorrectly or something that we have a strong opinion on, we'll share that as well. I'm going to set the scene of every single year, and Dylan's going to be able to tell us a lot about a lot of these movies and how we're feeling about it.
Just one quick note. For those who are uninitiated, there's 2 ways of looking at the years of the Oscars.
Okay.
Some people do it by the years of the ceremony. So like
I noticed.
1995 would be Forrest Gump, even though it's the best picture of 1994.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't do it like that. I do it by the year it came out.
Yeah, that's the way it should be done. It's by movie release. It makes sense. Yeah. It's just the ceremony happens in 95.
Yeah, it's the best picture or best performance of the year that it came out.
Right. It's like I look at it like a Super Bowl. Last year, Super Bowl Chiefs 49ers happens in 2024, but you're really the champion of 2023 because the mass majority of the bulk of the season happens in 2023. That's the way to look at it. So we're going to start in 1994. So notable movies of that year to come out. The most obvious one would be The Lion King, as it's one of the greatest animated features of all time. We're getting a lot of interesting independent films such as Clerks, The Crow, and then we're also getting the advent of Jim Carrey, as in one calendar year, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and The Mask all are released in 1994. So this is the era of film that we are discussing.
Which, just by the way, that is like maybe the craziest year for an actor ever.
I mean, you want to make a star,
like
you do it that way.
Huge hits. That is crazy.
I mean, that's what makes him a kingmaker to this day. When Jim Carrey's in a movie, people pay attention. I mean, shit, they're paying attention to Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because he's in it. That's how much people love and respect Jim Carrey's old work. So, I mean, fucking impressive. That's the scene that we're looking at in 1994. Get us to our Big 6, Dylan. How are we feeling?
Okay, so just before the Big 6, we're going to cover just little changes or things we should mention during the technical categories. So do you have anything you wanted to shout out?
Art direction. Who was the winner in 1994? Because I know the nominee I would pick over it. But remind me, who's the 1994 art direction winner? For context...
For those just listening, I have my Academy guidebook.
Of course you fucking do.
I would highly recommend it. It's called The Academy Awards, The Complete Unofficial History.
It's pretty damn good. It looks impressive. I'm not going to lie to you. It looks impressive.
Art direction is the madness of King George.
Right. So the way I interpret art direction is it's the visual representation of the film that essentially sets up the atmosphere of the film, how it looks, how it represents, putting you into that world of the film. And there's years that are very obvious, where they're putting you into period pieces, and then there's years where it's very much understated, more modern takes, and you have to do it. My issue with this...
And the Academy has historically been... They lean heavy on period pieces.
You can tell that obvious in this one. Forrest Gump is nominated in this film, which I think deserves it more than The Madness of King George. I went back and watched a good amount of footage on this so I could have an educated opinion, not just said, this is stupid. I went back and watched some footage so I could be like, okay, where are we going? I don't think it actually does that well with half the period piecing in Madness of King George. The movie I think it deserves the most in terms of setting the atmosphere is nominated as Interview with the Vampire. That film just sets its atmosphere so well. It uses dark tones so well, highlights its characters, and really understands the somberness and the sadness of a mortal life that's really hit in Interview with the Vampire. I would have went Interview with the Vampire on that one.
Talk about a movie that we both love that not many people appreciate.
I think it's one of the most underrated Tom Cruise movies of all time. It's so good.
I love that movie.
I don't care. I first watched Interview with the Vampire when I was 15 or 16 on a rabbit ear television in the roof loft of our garage by myself on a Halloween where I just turned it on and went, what the hell is this? And I just, over rabbit ear fucking antenna television, found it and I was like, what the hell is this? This looks cool. And I just watched it and I was like, this is an amazing film. My God. And the art direction is what really, it puts you into that world. I think it deserves it far more than the traditional, look at the period piece. Like, this is where I think the Oscars are flawed.
Yes. And just one more quick thing on Interview. They actually cover multiple periods in that film. So it is impressive.
It's incredibly impressive. So there's still a period piece element to it, but you're covering olden day France. You're covering like first settlers in the bayou plantations of the South, like, and then it goes to modern day New Orleans and San Francisco of the time of '94, and still has that similar tone. I think it's tremendous. Another one, visual effects. Who is my nominee for visual effects, or my winner for visual effects?
Winner is going to be Forrest Gump for that.
Forrest Gump, I can easily see. I think it's just a very different style. I could see The Mask winning that as well, with just some of the spine-tingling, ridiculous imagery created in The Mask. I think that's far more my taste. But in terms of sensibility and seamlessness, I understand why Forrest Gump is.
I'll talk a little bit more about visual effects with Forrest Gump in a bit. So I won't talk about that much.
And then a note here for music. The Lion King for original song has 3 nominees in the same category. Jesus Christ.
Yes, it's not that uncommon, actually. Well, 3 is very successful, but Disney was a juggernaut during the early 90s. Little Mermaid had Under the Sea, Part of Your World, and I think one more, but I can't remember. But they at least had 2. Beauty and the Beast had 2. And so Little Mermaid won Best Song. Beauty and the Beast won Best Song. Aladdin won Best Song. Lion King won Best Song.
And then towards the end of this, we're seeing Toy Story's nominated for a lot of them. Color of the Winds is nominated from Pocahontas. Mulan's nominated eventually. Like they're just banger after banger of songs in the original song category. So I just wanted to note it's a good year for The Lion King in terms of music wise. Elton John did really well in that film. Take us to our big 6.
And I actually do think the wrong song won Best Song, because Can You Feel the Love Tonight won.
It should have been Circle of Life, in my opinion.
That's what I would have chosen as well.
I think it's just a little bit more epic.
Yeah, I understand it. They usually pick the ballad, honestly. So
ballads are great. You can't argue against the ballad.
Yeah, I don't hate it. The only 2 I wrote down that I didn't actually say like I had a problem with the winners. I just said I wish these would have got nominated.
Yeah.
Were Ed Wood for cinematography.
Okay.
And film editing, True Lies. James Cameron's True Lies.
Schwarzenegger, baby.
Flick. Yeah, great action flick. Probably one of the better action movies of the 90s. So,
especially because we're transitioning the early 90s were the transition period that you're still getting original action movies that are really good, and they're using the old 80s model of get a star and make a movie. And the 90s is where you started to transition.
And you're getting prestige filmmakers still.
Yeah. We're transitioning to where you're getting kind of nobody directors that you've never heard of. They may have directed one thing, or they're music video directors or something of that nature. True Lies is one of the last ones where it transitions, because you can clearly tell the difference between True Lies and then like 3 years later with Schwarzenegger films, Stallone films. They're not the same.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the only two I had down, and those are just nominations I had thought would have been nice to see. So for the next 5 categories, I'll announce the winners that actually won that year. So we got director Robert Zemeckis, Forrest Gump; actor Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump; actress Jessica Lange for Blue Sky; supporting actor was Martin Landau in Ed Wood; supporting actress was Diane Wiest in Bullets Over Broadway. Have you seen most of those?
Seen Forrest Gump. That's it.
Okay.
I will never argue Diane Wiest, because I love everything Diane Wiest has ever touched. I think she's such an understated, phenomenal actress.
Yes, she's always great. You love Tim Burton, so I highly recommend Ed Wood.
Yes.
It's probably his most underrated movie, I would say.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I love that early Tim Burton. This feels like a classic in 1994. He's coming off of so many big hits, and this is his push to make more serious film, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, it's not really serious either. It's a lot more zany than anything.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check out Ed Wood.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
I do have a beef with one category.
Okay, what do you got?
I think Robert Zemeckis did a phenomenal job with Forrest Gump. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. In terms of just direction, though, I would have went Tarantino for Pulp Fiction. We're
the popular choice.
The only thing I think of when I think of best director is the director's leading so much of the tone of that film and doing it.
Yeah.
And I think the reason Pulp Fiction is as good as it is how much of a reign Tarantino has on that film, and creating this almost anthology style movie of connecting all these different pieces together and making one coherent, unified vision that keeps the viewer guessing but makes sure they understand what's going on at the same time. I just think that's a task that is so incredible to pull off the way he did, that I think that deserves the win a little bit more than Zemeckis for Forrest Gump. And you know me, I'm a huge Robert Zemeckis fan. I've loved everything I've ever seen him make. So it's not as if I'm shitting on Robert Zemeckis. I just think Pulp Fiction is such a unique film that is carried by its director.
Yeah. I mean, I would have stuck with Zemeckis only because I know how difficult it was to make Forrest Gump. The level of actual visual effects in the movie itself is actually pretty mind-boggling for 1994.
Yeah.
Because they're using like historical footage, but then they have to insert an actor into it, insert Tom Hanks into it. So I would have stuck with him, but like I said, Tarantino would be the popular choice. Almost everyone says Pulp Fiction should have won over Forrest Gump, so
I would disagree with that.
I'm in the minority for that. I actually had 3 changes I would make there.
Really?
Yes. So for actress, you probably haven't seen this. I would have picked Julia Ormond. She wasn't even nominated for Legends of a Fall. It's a Brad Pitt movie.
I do know it's a Brad Pitt movie, and that's about as far as it goes.
It won for cinematography.
Is Anthony Hopkins in that movies too?
Yes.
It's like they're brothers, and they're trying to get him to run the business, and they go off to war or some shit like that.
So, yeah, you have Anthony Hopkins as the dad, who's a Civil War veteran. And then you have Aidan Quinn, Brad Pitt, and Henry Thomas from E.T. as the brothers, and it's this huge epic World War One epic. It's set in Montana, and it is just like one of the most beautiful movies you'll ever see. The
Interesting.
scenery is amazing, and she's fantastic in it. Like I usually don't love her all that much, but in that movie, she's incredible. And then supporting actor, I actually would have picked Gary Sinise in Forrest Gump over Martin Landau and Ed Wood.
Okay, I could see
And
that.
the only reason I say that is because I feel like Martin Landau's is kind of one lifetime achievement more than it is you were the best performance. You know?
He got it when he shouldn't have got
Yeah.
it because he should have got
Yes.
one earlier and he didn't get one.
It happens all the time, but it's just always because there always is like a fantastic performance that gets overlooked because of that. Like Gary Sinise in Forrest Gump is incredible.
Gary Sinise in Forrest Gump is the reason Gary Sinise is still relevant. And it's based off of
Yes,
one
exactly.
movie. Gary Sinise, all due respect to him, great actor, but I don't know if I could recall another Gary Sinise performance. I've seen him in other stuff. I'm not saying I haven't, but that is the performance that makes his career to the point where you can still put him on random stuff and people go, oh shit, Gary Sinise.
Yeah. Yeah, most people, if you said, do you know who Lieutenant Dan is? They'll probably say, yeah, I know who that is.
I would probably, I haven't watched Ed Wood, so obviously I can't give it a full-on opinion.
Martin Landau is good in it. It's a good performance. He plays Bela Lugosi.
Hell yeah. I did see that and I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I might have to watch this even more. We're covering Bela Lugosi
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. That'd be fun.
And then supporting actress, I said I would have picked Robin Wright in Forrest Gump over Diane.
Is Robin Wright even nominated?
Let me look.
I will say that her...
No, she's not.
That's ridiculous. She should at least be nominated.
Yeah.
My thing with Robin Wright's performance in Forrest Gump is, one, it's a testament to the story, screenwriting, and the director for balancing this character. But Robin Wright, when you look at Jenny, there's really no reason you should actually like Jenny. She continues.
Oh yeah, she's a terrible person.
She continually, and I get it, it's the classic man's going after someone that doesn't have the same feelings for her. So there's a lot of meta commentary, especially from a modern audience, going like, why should Jenny have to constantly be looking out for Forrest's feelings? And I get that from a modern context specifically, but in terms of the lens of this film, Jenny continually puts herself in horrible situations.
Yes.
And
well,
yet,
I guess it speaks to like people who are abused as children sometimes fall into a spiral of abuse.
right.
So,
But she continually does things and runs away from positivity. It's kind of, I was just in a private conversation, I'm not going to mention any names, in which someone was speaking about their friend. And they finally had to yell at him a little bit and said, you ruin any chance you have to be happy. Like, you say your goals are to meet someone, have a family, do all these kinds of things. And yet, any time you say you want that, you continually do the opposite and put yourself in a horrible spot. That's Jenny.
yeah,
And yet, there is something to Robin Wright's performance in which she is so endearing and makes such an indelible mark that you understand why Forrest is eternally loyal and grateful to her. And it's special. It's a special performance on Robin Wright's part.
Yeah. Diane Weiss is good in Bullets Over Broadway. She plays like this mobster's kind of clueless girlfriend or wife or something like that, where she's put in a play because she's the mobster's side piece, and she's like really out there and just clueless and stuff. She's good in it, but I just feel like Robin Wright's performance has so much depth to it that yeah. And then
very fair.
just a couple shout outs that I would have liked to see for nominations. I would have loved to see Jim Carrey get a nomination for Best Actor for Dumb and Dumber. That would have been fantastic. And then Anthony Hopkins for Legends of the Fall. I think he deserved a nomination for that as well.
The thing I don't understand about nominations, and I'm really seeing it here when we're in the 5-movie max, is I don't understand why nominations have a limit outside of like Best Picture. I don't get it.
It's because
it's supposed to be prestigious and it's supposed to be selective. I get it, but
historically, it's always been the actors decide the nominees in acting categories, and then everyone can vote on the actual category between those 5.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, it is kind of just the prestige of it. The historical.
Because I don't think 6 or 7 nominations kills you instead of 5, personally.
Yeah.
You're still speaking of thousands of performances every year, and you're one of the top 7. It's not. I look at it the same way. You know, going to the Far Out Football podcast, we've done quarterback rankings and other stuff. There's not a true top 5 in the NFL. It's usually really a top like 7 or 8. One is head and shoulders above everybody, and then there's 2 through 8 are all pretty comparable in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to the next class. That's kind of how I look at a lot of these nominees.
Well, you could also just say, why are there nominees at all?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, there's really no need for them. Whoever got the most votes should just win.
They want to recognize it. It's the prestige of it. I get it.
More than anything, the Oscars is a marketing tool for the film industry.
Absolutely.
That's why it was created. So, because when it first started, it was mostly producers that were part of the Academy. So they were just they were looking to make a buck. So.
Oh, it's obvious.
It is a marketing tool.
Same thing. In future years, when we get to, was it 97 or 98, and it's Shakespeare in Love time, I went and watched the trailer for Shakespeare in Love and just trying to get a little bit of a taste of the movie with a scene or two. And they made a new trailer, and it's just like all Academy Award winner, blah 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 blah, and it's after the fact of when they did it, and like it's like Academy Award winner Ben Affleck, and I'm like, yeah, screenwriting, but like that's not Ben Affleck Argo, like This isn't Ben Affleck now, where no matter what, when Ben Affleck's in a movie, you pay attention because it's gonna be good. Like, this is Ben Affleck 97, 98, where I'm like, he's done like 2 things, or 3 things of note. Like,
yeah, I mean that's how it goes. But I mean, it's a good marketing tool. I will say that.
Yeah, it gets you to pay attention to films you normally wouldn't, and I will give them the credit for that. But when it comes to the nominees and stuff, it's kind of like I think it's a big deal when you win. But sometimes when in the nomination process, when I'm looking at the names, I'm like, I don't think that really helped you. Like I saw in one of the years we're about to cover, like Joan Cusack was nominated for a movie. I've always liked Joan Cusack. I think she's great. But like, I've never heard like Oscar nominee Joan Cusack. I'm like, has that done anything for her? You know what?
I mean, it might have bumped her pay up a couple $1,000.
Well, good for her. She deserves it. But
yeah,
but it's certainly interesting.
Okay, so then jumping into Best Picture, the actual nominees were Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, The Shawshank Redemption, and 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
It's a hell of
with Forrest Gump winning.
It's a hell of a. I don't want to say anything negative about 2 films I haven't seen. In 4 Weddings and a
good movies.
And Quiz Show and 4 Weddings and a Funeral, they all seem, obviously they're pretty good. They were nominated for an Oscar. But you're talking about a heavy hitting group with Shawshank, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump.
Yes.
And you're of the opinion Forrest Gump deserves that award.
I would have stuck with Forrest Gump. It's a super unpopular opinion between like people who talk about the Oscars and stuff, but I think the achievements that it did, I get how revolutionary Pulp Fiction was but it was only revolutionary in the style of writing, really.
Yeah.
So, so I tend to side more with Forrest Gump.
Overall, I would say, all due respect to Shawshank, Shawshank to me now lives more in legend and lore of men ages 18 to 27 who, well, at least now into
Sure.
our group, it probably goes as high as 35, 40. It just always seems to be young men asserting their opinion that they know movies, saying like, "Oh, Shawshank Redemption's the greatest movie of all time."
And I think Pulp Fiction has a little bit of that.
I think Pulp Fiction has a bit of that, especially with the Tarantino effect. But this is really, to me, a 2-horse race, not a 3.
Yeah.
And I would still say, yeah, I understand the Forrest Gump. I would still go with Forrest Gump. I think Forrest Gump is a movie you can pick up at any time, anywhere, and it is such an indelible mark of achievement to get you to care about people. And Pulp Fiction does not have that. Pulp Fiction is whiz bang pow. It's sizzle. But when you look at heavy lifting steak to really get you through a meal, that's Forrest Gump. And I would still go Forrest Gump on that.
I cry every time I watch Forrest Gump. It always gets me connected to the movie.
Yeah.
So like that shows some kind of achievement.
Yeah.
So then the only thing I would have changed 2 nominees. I would have taken out Quiz Show and Four Weddings and a Funeral. They're both good movies. But I would have put in The Lion King.
Yep.
And I would have put in Ed Wood.
Interesting.
Ed Wood's an out there choice, but I think it's one of the more unique movies of the 90s.
So, to me, this kind of goes to a question of nomination. How do you nominate as a voter? Do you nominate 5 or do you nominate 1? And then you kind of come to a consensus based on everyone's choice.
That's a good question. I actually don't know that.
Because to me, that seems like, I think some of the times, some of the more popular picks or some of the more off the wall picks that are fringe that people would like to do, if they only get 1, they might just go, well, I gotta go with this. But if I was going for just my tastes or something of that nature, maybe an Ed Wood would get in. That is certainly a question that we need to figure out when we keep doing these retrospectives. Perhaps one of us will look that up on their phone instantaneously.
Well, one of the things that I always thought it would be a really good idea to just have a ranking system where, like, if you have 5 nominees, have everyone vote on those 5 nominees, ranking them, and then whoever gets your first place gets 5 points.
Yeah, it's the weighted, it's rank vote, it's choice rank rating.
That makes 10 times more sense.
Rank choice voting. That's what it is. That's what it should be in the country. That's what voting should be in general. So you get the greatest consensus of people's opinion.
Yes.
That's always what it should be. That's why Maine's politics look a lot better as a state than the vast majority of every other state, because they have ranked choice voting. So you get the greatest consensus of governing the people based off of everybody's opinions, which is why we went to Acadia National Park in 2020. And you joined us for that, and it was wonderful to have you join. And I remember being in the hotel room, and we just turned the TV on for like 20 minutes when we were waiting to like get ready to go to dinner or something after going to the park. And we saw political ads, and it was 2 oppositional opponents doing an ad together, being kind. They're like, oh, we disagree on opinions of how to do things, but we can all agree we're all from Maine, and we deserve a good shot of being the best that we can be. And it was like exactly what politics should be, in which is like, let's find a compromise, let's understand. And I think anything voting wise, and specifically the Oscars, it should be that, because otherwise, if you're only given 1 choice, you have to go with the 1.
Yeah.
It's the reason people like ranking shows. If you look at YouTube content in general,
Sure.
You're there for the hot take. You're there for the meat of the opinion. You're not there for the obvious. Like, anybody can go and say, this is the worst movie ever, or this is the best movie ever, or, again, bring it up to the football podcast. People know I'm going to put Patrick Mahomes 1 as the best quarterback in the league. They want to know, who does he put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then where do those people that always get weirdly ranked, where do they fit in his system if they're watching my rankings or someone else's? It's way better if you have ranked choice voting in this situation where you can go, I'm weighting Forrest Gump 1, Pulp Fiction 2, Lion King 3, Shawshank 4, Ed Wood 5 in this scenario of what you created, I'm just making up rankings. But then if you see, but that way, if someone says, I think Forrest Gump is great, but I think it's only 4, you're getting a better consensus to get to where you're supposed to be.
Yes. Do you have any changes for Best Picture?
Best Picture, I would have just put a nomination to The Lion King. I think The Lion King is such a revolutionary film, and what a 1-2 punch. The Little Mermaid already starts the Disney Renaissance, but when you look at animation being taken seriously as film, what a tremendous 1-2 punch of Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King that Disney puts out.
Beauty and the Beast was the first one nominated for Best Picture.
Beauty and the Beast is a masterpiece, and I think Lion King is right there because it is a universal story. And a child can appreciate it, enjoy it, and understand it, and an adult can do the same, and you might be approaching it from different things, but you can understand it so seamlessly that it's tremendous. So I would have given a nom to The Lion King.
Okay. Ready to move on?
Yeah, let's go 95. We'll set the scene. 95. Very.
The only other thing I'd mention about 94 is, if anyone's interested, Tom Hanks always gives a good acceptance speech.
Oh, and I did forget.
He did back-to-back for 93, 94.
Philadelphia and Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I will say this. We also, in our pre-production meetings, if we want to be official, said we're going to give our favorite movies of each year. What is your favorite movie of 1994?
I would say Lion King.
Okay. I'm going to go... It was a toss-up for me looking at the list. And as a joke, I almost wanted to say Three Ninjas Kick Back because it's fucking ridiculous. But I only watched those up until the point I was like 8. It's a toss-up, and it all depends on the mood I'm in.
What's the one with Hulk Hogan?
That's Three Ninjas 3, High Noon, I believe. Or something of that nature. And they're at a theme park, and Hulk Hogan's a ninja. It's fucking ridiculous. That is classic. We make these movies for kids, and we think kids are dumb movies.
Yes.
Favorite movie of 94. A lot of good contenders for that one. I'm going to split it between Interview with the Vampire and Little Giants. They're both great. Wildly different. They played at 2 very different places in my mind. I always like to say, Ab and I both describe me as a walking contradiction. That is a perfect example of I'm a walking contradiction.
Yeah, that is a perfect example.
I hear you guys are really liking PT Creative's content. And you know what? You should, because it's pretty rad. You may even want to support the channel even more. Well, there's a way you can do it and reward yourself. And that's by going to our Etsy shop. Head on over to PTE Creative's Etsy shop and you can find all kinds of cool merch like you see on screen. You may be watching some of our Pokemon themed content and going, I'd love some merch there. You can do that. You can even get our custom Fakemon stickers right there, or stickers of existing Pokemon, t-shirts, or mystery packs. But you may be saying, I don't know if Pokemon's maybe my vibe. You know what? That's fine, because we got all kinds of fun, snarky millennial content and sports-related things over at the Etsy shop as well. You got some big bench warmer energy that you just got to spread with the world. Or maybe you just need to tell people that you hope both teams are having fun as they're playing, because it's just all about vibes to you. And you hate to see it. You'd hate to see it if you didn't get your merch. You can go get that merch right here, right now. Head on over to Etsy. Go to etsy.com/shop/PTE Creative and go get yourself some awesome merch and go support a local content creator in this community we call the internet. Hope y'all see some great merch coming soon from Etsy. Go to PT Creative on Etsy and get yourself some great merch. No! All right, we're going to go 95. Right. 95, I'll set the scene for you.
Yep.
Notable movies. 7. Casino. Toy Story. The highest grossing film of the year is Batman Forever, as we're getting back into the franchise films. And then we also have the reboot of popular franchises with Pierce Brosnan's James Bond in GoldenEye. Plus you have pseudo cult classics like Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, Ghost in the Shell is a huge anime film of that time, Mortal Kombat for our video game audience, and Clueless all are released in 1995.
You got any technical award changes?
I'm going to original song, at least a nomination, and I think it should be a win. How is Kiss from a Rose from Batman Forever not an original song nominee? That's fucking ridiculous to me. Kiss from a Rose was a great fucking song, dude.
I would completely agree. I love that.
What is the win for best song or original song?
I'm pretty sure it's Colors of the Wind, but let me make 100% sure.
I believe it is also Colors of the Wind, if I recall correctly. Colors of the Wind is a great tune.
It is Colors of the Wind.
It's the ballad, but I think one of the things is original song is a way that the Academy gets to play in Popularville and still get to have the hoity-toityness.
Yes.
Kiss from a Rose is a legit, like, huge radio hit, too. And anyone who hears that song, even though it's cheesy as fuck, loves it. And that's why I'm like, you gotta go with Kiss from a Rose. And the fact that it didn't even get nominated, I'm like, come on! Come on!
Yeah. That song's great.
Great.
Any other ones? Is that the only one?
That is my only one for that.
Okay. I only had one as well. This is actually a time when they were doing drama score and musical or comedy scores.
I did see that, yes.
For some reason, they did that during the 40s and 50s. They were doing black and white versus color. They tried different ideas all the time. Some of them stick, some of them don't.
Yeah.
But I would have went with the Braveheart score, drama score, over Il Postino, which is also nominated for Best Picture. I just watched Il Postino for the first time. It's one of the few that I hadn't seen that had come up after 1980. It was a good movie. The Braveheart score is like iconic to me.
Gift of the Thistle is so good.
It's a beautiful score.
James Horner's music in that movie is so fucking incredible. I've seen Braveheart once. I've watched Braveheart once. And that music is indelibly marked in my brain, and it is on. I have a playlist of original score. I have score music to just kind of write to put me in that place. Like when I write Batman, I put on Batman music, but when I'm trying to spread it out and just when I write, listen to scores. Gift of the Thistle and a lot of Braveheart music is always on that playlist because it's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't love Braveheart as a movie, but I think the best part about it is probably the score. So, or cinematography.
Cinematography, art direction, and score. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so getting into the other five, we got Mel Gibson winning for director for Braveheart.
Yep.
Actor was Nicolas Cage for Leaving Las Vegas.
Okay.
Actress Susan Sarandon, Dead Man Walking. Supporting actor Kevin Spacey, great guy I hear, for Usual Suspects. And then you got supporting actress Mira Sorvino for Mighty Aphrodite.
I'm gonna go to supporting actor for one. Right actor, wrong movie. I would have went Spacey for 7.
I get that. I was tempted to say that, but then when I thought about it, I was like, is he in enough of the movie for me to really like?
We've had supporting actors win for 12 minutes of screen time.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I think one of the fewest was. I just rewatched Network, which came out in 1976, and the best supporting actress in that, I think she was in like 3% of the movie. Like she's barely in it. It's like 2 scenes. So I get it. I was tempted to say that as well. Is that the only change you had?
He is incredible in 7.
I will agree with that. Sure.
He is now just starting to dip his toe back into mainstream life again after his scandals. Not a comment on the person, because the stories of the person seem pretty reprehensible.
Oh, yeah.
But the actor, Kevin Spacey, is incredible an actor. It's the art versus it's the art. How do you separate art versus artist conversation, as we always have to get into in these conversations? Spacey in this era is fucking incredible. In 7, he is so good, so good.
Hmm. I would agree. Is that the only change you had though
That is
with those five?
the only 5 I have, and then I have a Best Picture nominee. That's it.
Okay. I actually have zero changes
Okay,
for
wow.
those five categories. I did have a couple shout outs I wanted to say. I would have loved to see David Fincher get a nomination for 7.
Yep.
Tom Hanks for Apollo 13, Best Actor. Also Denzel Washington in
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide. He's fantastic in that movie. And then speaking of Gary Sinise again, Gary Sinise in Apollo 13 for supporting actor. And then also Gene Hackman in Crimson Tide for supporting actor. And then Gwyneth Paltrow in 7 as well, supporting actress. I think
Yeah.
they deserve shout outs.
Yeah, they're all those fringe that you're. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of feels like perhaps Tom Hanks wasn't nominated because he won 2 in a row, and they're like, we gotta get someone out of this category. Because if he's put in, he's probably gonna win. It. Kind of feels like that.
Yeah, I don't think he had a shot in hell at winning for Apollo 13. He just really doesn't do all that much in that movie.
Right.
I mean, he's great, obviously. He's Tom Hanks.
Right.
But
it's Tom Hanks.
like
Yes.
when you compare it to Philadelphia and Forrest Gump.
Very different. However, his greatest acting experience
Okay.
is in The Burbs, so we can all agree on that. So.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So Best Picture actual nominees were Braveheart, Apollo 13, Il Postino, Babe, surprise nominee, and Sense and Sensibility with Braveheart as the winner.
I don't know who I would take out to make this nomination work. I think Toy Story deserves a nomination for Best Picture.
That's one of my changes.
All right. It got the special award that year because they just didn't have. They knew they had to recognize this film, and they didn't know how to do it.
I'm actually very surprised that Toy Story wasn't the jumping off point for an animated feature category itself.
Yeah.
Toy Story is such a good movie that it's kind of like a really glaring miss on the Academy's part.
Yeah.
That it wasn't nominated for anything.
I mean, they knew they had to give it something, so they gave it that bullshit special award.
Yeah.
I think the only thing against your point is it certainly deserves. It's the thing that should start the animation category. Where at the time, even with Beauty and the Beast, you can kind of go, it's an outlier. I think it's just the amount of animated films of that quality, or even a similar big budget quality, weren't being made because it was taking so much time to create them, because we were still in hand-drawn animation times, and then we got into hand-drawn computer-assisted animated times, and then we were getting completely computer-generated things with Toy Story then, in which I just don't know that there was enough to make it a category. Because then
95 had Toy Story, Pocahontas, and Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm pretty sure.
I think Notre Dame was 96.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe there wasn't enough.
And I'm looking, I'm just like, I can't remember a DreamWorks movie or something of that nature.
DreamWorks didn't exist yet.
Exactly. Like, I just don't think there was enough to create a category for it. But even still, if there's no category, the fact that Toy Story is not nominated for Best Picture is a huge glaring miss. It is a phenomenal film.
So jump off that. Toy Story is my winner for Best Picture.
Okay, you're going over Braveheart. Wow, that is...
Yeah.
That's a take. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I'm just saying that's a take. Yeah.
I've seen Braveheart probably 4 or 5 times now. I think it's diminishing returns. Not on every aspect of the movie, because it's always beautiful. It looks great. But, I mean, Mel Gibson's accent in there really drives me crazy.
Freedom!
I don't know why he had to direct himself as the star.
It's Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's one of the biggest actors of that time. He was.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
So yeah, Toy Story would have been mine. I think it's the most revolutionary movies in the past 30 years. And then, so I would have taken out Il Postino and Babe, and I would have put in Toy Story and Seven. Because Seven is, there is not a movie like that in that, like, era.
Before or after. There's nothing like
Yeah.
Seven. Everyone's trying to
There is
be
nothing-
Seven with a serial killer movie.
Yeah. Because there is nothing that, like, grungy and dirty. David Fincher, his style in that movie is unlike any other kind of crime thriller that had been made.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy Seven. I very much contemplated Best Picture putting Seven in there, and I completely agree that it deserves it. I just didn't know enough about the other movies to pull
Sure.
Il Postino or Sense and Sensibility out to do it. But I knew for a fact Toy Story was a huge glaring mark, because I think it can be argued Toy Story is a better movie than Braveheart. And if the Best Picture winner is theoretically not as good as Toy Story, that's a problem. Where I can look at Seven and Braveheart and go, I can understand easily why someone believes Braveheart is a bigger achievement than Seven.
Yeah, and there's always the thing of, like, what's going to appeal to more people?
Yeah.
Probably not Seven.
Probably not Seven. But now, and oddly, in today's taste, Seven's the sensibility pick, and Braveheart's the pick that you have to get the film junkie to watch, because it's a long movie. It's a character based story. It's an epic drama. It's not like Seven, where you're just constantly in suspense. And Fincher Fincher is kind of a Spielberg of his time, in which people go, "Oh shit, this is a David Fincher movie. I've got to watch."
Yeah, and Braveheart also marks a 3-year streak where they had just giant epics winning it, where they had Braveheart, English Patient, and then Titanic.
Yeah.
So they were definitely simpatico on every single.
Yeah. Now let's go. What is your favorite movie of 1995?
I'd say Toy Story.
Okay. Toy Story is a great pick.
You told me yours.
I'm gonna give you, actually, so I rethought that.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the walking contradiction again. But it still speaks to the person of Evan Davies really well. Still, from a love of being a kid, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers has to be in that conversation. I fucking love that movie, and I'm not kidding when I tell you, because it made such a mark in my fear-addled child brain. Ivan Ooze still scares me, and when I turn a corner in a dark basement or house, I still think Ivan Ooze might come out and jump out and get me. Is that a really deep...
He's iconic.
Ivan Ooze is fucking great. However, there is another movie that is not only a comfort movie for me, but really speaks to my sensibility. GoldenEye is actually probably my favorite film from that.
Sure.
GoldenEye is so good. It is so good on so many levels. I adore GoldenEye. It's tremendous.
You like Bond a lot more than I do.
I love James Bond and Pierce Brosnan. Starting that era of Bond and GoldenEye. Fucking incredible. The base jump scene alone gets you, and I'm like, nice.
No, it's not probably. It is Pierce's best Bond movie.
Oh, by far. It's GoldenEye and then Diminishing Returns. And I love all those movies, but they're diminishing returns.
Yeah.
They just keep going down in quality as his time goes by.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I adore GoldenEye, and I think GoldenEye has to probably get the nod, although Kid Me is really going, hey man, you still really love Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. And you're right, I fucking do. So, walking contradiction hits again.
There's just because you mention it, you should look up on YouTube. There's a channel called Corridor Crew.
Okay.
They break down visual effects. They have one episode where they talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You should look it up.
Fuck yeah.
It's pretty interesting, actually.
Great movie. Cinematic masterpiece at its finest.
Oh, sure.
Oh my god. You know who really should have won Best Best actor, fucking Jason David Frank is Tommy Oliver. Obvious, great acting.
Can you imagine if they're announcing the nominees and then all of a sudden they announce his name? Like, just
Mel Gibson for Braveheart. Like,
the amount of pandemonium it would have caused.
I'm here for the chaos. That's what I'm always here for. I would have loved every second of that if that were actually true. And BT Dub, rest in peace, Jason David Frank. Definitely don't love you and your character forever. It's my boy. Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. You trying to get your platform to grow? So am I. And I want to help you out. Let's help each other out. I'm trying a new thing on my podcast and all of my weekly content. I have content Monday through Saturday on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, all kinds of different platforms, and I want to help you grow as well. So now, if you like, comment, subscribe on this video, or follow wherever you may be, you may get a shout out in one of my next projects. That's what I'm going to try to do for you because you're small-time creators just like me, and I want us both to grow. So like, comment, subscribe for more, follow wherever you can. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll try to help you out as well by giving you a shout out. Let's go do this together. Peace. Alright, let's take you to 1996. Some notable films in 96. Independence Day is one of the biggest box office hits of the year. We have the debut of Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible. We're also getting a lot of interesting films like Scream to reinvigorate the horror genre. And we're getting a continuation of really fun, interesting movies going into, at the time known as alternative lifestyles. But really, it's just representing the LGBT community, or LGBTQ plus community. So we had Tu Wong Fu in 95. We're getting The Birdcage, which is a great film in 1996. Plus, you're getting cinematic masterpieces like Michael Jordan's Space Jam in 1996 as well. So this is the stage that is set in 1996. And we're also seeing the advent of Adam Sandler with, he had Billy Madison the year before, he has Happy Gilmore in 96, so you're seeing that transition of making Adam Sandler a comedic star at the time.
Yeah.
I don't have many of beef picks here. Art direction, I believe it goes to another period piece that I don't think deserves it, if I am recalling correctly. If you could look that up for me. A strong one here is they were both nominated. Our winner is, if you find it,
English Patient.
The English Patient. Again, I've never seen The English Patient. I've watched half of it. I was bored to tears. I think it was just one, and I like boring movies because they're not really boring.
I enjoy it.
I think it just hit me on the wrong day where I was just like, I'm going to do this. And then I was like, fuck this movie. I think The Birdcage or Romeo and Juliet could be better choices, and I think The Birdcage would probably win for me. It really sets the scene of that world buying in, and it really allows, especially, we are already struggling still in 2024 to see people root for and accept characters that are not heterosexual. And The Birdcage, the art direction really sets up this place to really support these gay characters and these characters of the LGBT community. And I think The Birdcage, the art direction, really sets the framework of where that time and place is for that community, and I really appreciate the art direction.
Yeah, that was actually a really strong category that year. It was The Birdcage, The English Patient, Evita, Hamlet, and then Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
And I don't like Baz Luhrmann. I don't like his movies, but there is a visual style to that Romeo and Juliet movie.
I was going to say, I don't enjoy watching them, but they are visually interesting.
Yeah.
So the only change I had was for best song, I would have picked That Thing You Do over You Must Love Me from Evita. That Thing You Do is much more of like, it's like a 60s Beatles song.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Tom Hanks directed the movie of the same title, That Thing You Do. I love that song. It's great. And again, I'm pretty sure "You Must Love Me" is just another ballad. So
Wow, it's like ballads win or something.
yeah,
But
I mean,
apparently not.
hey,
Apparently not if they're sung by Seal though. So, Anna,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
robbery,
Okay,
highway fucking robbery.
the bigger five categories. We got director Anthony Minghella for The English Patient. Actor was Jeffrey Rush in Shine. Actress was Frances McDormand, which you're going to hear many times, for Fargo. Supporting actor was Cuba Gooding Jr. for Jerry Maguire. And then supporting actress was Juliette Binoche for English Patient.
I have no beef
Anything
with.
you would have changed?
I have no beef with any of those picks, mostly because I have no idea about half those movies. I didn't know Shine existed. I didn't know half the movies that were in these categories.
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised to see the nominees for supporting actor in that category, and to still see Cuba Gooding Jr. win for Jerry Maguire.
Yes. Well, both.
I have no beef with it, but I was surprised the nominees.
Yeah, both supporting actor and actress was huge surprises that year. No one expected either of those two to win.
Okay.
And you can, and I would highly recommend looking up Cuba Gooding Jr. winning it because he goes fucking berserk. He is so fucking excited about winning it. It's hilarious.
Because he thought there was no shot. He was just happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. I had two changes. I would have picked Joel Cohen for director, Fargo.
Okay.
And then supporting actor, I would have picked William H. Macy for Fargo as well, over Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay.
I don't think either of the actual winners are like. I have no problems with them. I love Fargo. I think it's one of the top 50 movies ever made. So
well, that's saying a lot. That's quite an impressive feat.
And then just a couple shout outs. I just had Danny Boyle for Trainspotting for director, and then Ewan McGregor for Trainspotting for actor.
I mean, Trainspotting is a movie that is aged. Here's how I know Trainspotting is a big deal. Never seen it, and more when it's brought up in conversation, people just go, "Holy shit, you got to watch that movie."
It's a good movie
and very interesting, to say the least. Yeah, I have no beef, mostly because this is a year that nothing really. If I'm most familiar with Jerry Maguire, that's probably not a good.
Yeah, and
good.
I've only seen
place.
I've only seen Shot. I've seen Shine the one time just to like highlight. Hey, I've seen that. I crossed it off my list because I'm trying to watch every single Academy Award winner. So I remember Jeffrey Rush being good in it. I couldn't tell you a single thing about the movie anymore because I think I saw it when I was like 18 in high school. So
and you're like, oh, I'm going to start this quest and I'm going to go down this little rabbit hole. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to do, especially.
I'm pretty sure he's like an autistic pianist in it.
Huh. Okay.
I think. I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
I love that. Right. I love that.
So, Best Picture actual nominees: The English Patient, Fargo, Jerry Maguire, Secrets and Lies, and Shine, with English Patient winning, which you can see right here, if you can see it.
Behind your back, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know enough about The English Patient to say it deserves the win or not. It doesn't have.
Honestly,
it still doesn't have the scene "Show me the money," so I don't know if it's deserving of anything compared to Jerry Maguire.
Well, I was gonna say I think the only relevant thing about it is the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
So
here's The English Patient. This is not a mark against the film. Don't know the quality of the film. You clearly like it. If you're,
I do. I enjoy it quite a bit, actually.
Is The English Patient is a perfect example of how quality does not inherently mean you have made your mark in the world.
Yes.
It wins an Oscar. It's given a ton of respect. And it's best known for being a bit in Seinfeld.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And beyond that, if you're not a big Seinfeld watcher, most modern people have no idea what the fuck you're talking about when you sing The English Patient. You need to find a real film buff or a film nerd to talk about The English Patient with people.
Even to film nerds, it really won't appeal to that many because like it's not a classical epic where it's like an action epic like Braveheart is.
Yeah.
It's a romance epic. So it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Right. This is classic. The Academy sees it and modern people don't.
Yes.
Would you replace it with Fargo? Because you think Fargo's that fucking good.
I had 2 changes. Not for nominees. I only had 1 change in nominee. I would put Trainspotting in instead of Shine. And then I would have put Fargo as the winner that year.
Okay. Impressive.
No changes for you?
I don't know enough to really give a shit. This is...
Yeah, but you have movies you love that year, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to say, hey, Evan loves Space Jam, so we're going to put Space Jam in. Like, the thing is, this is what was so crazy to me is going back, I realized there was entire dead years where it was hard for me to pick even a favorite movie.
Oh, okay.
And then going to the Oscars, I was like, we're really getting nitpicky. Where if I'm super informed about this or not. Where 94, I kind of lucked out. Where I was like, a lot of the string nominees, a lot of lesser quote category nominees, I knew had a real opinion on. Plus, you had strong opinions for Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump.
Well, yeah, and 94 was just besides like the ones we mentioned. There's also like Speed.
Yeah,
like Speed is a huge movie.
True Lies. The Santa Claus comes out that year. Mrs. Doubtfire comes out that year.
No, Mrs. Doubtfire's 93 actually.
Oh well, it's IMDb sucks at their job then.
Yeah.
Not that I think it's a great movie, but like The Flintstones comes out that year. I believe Little Rascals comes out that year. Those are movies that I know and love from that time frame. Flintstones actually I don't really have any opinion on.
Yeah.
It's just to set the scene of when that was. But the 90s is almost, I think, because we grew up in it.
Yeah.
I don't oddly go back and watch anything from it. I go back to the 80s a lot and check a lot of 80s shit out because I just like that genre of... I like that decade of film. Whereas the 90s, I kind of go, okay. And then you hit 2000s, and I'm either like all in or I'm all out.
Yeah.
96.
Yeah, funnily enough, I think the decade I've seen the most of now is probably the 40s. Weirdly.
I mean, you've done a lot of research. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
I love 40s movies. Some of my favorite movies are from the 40s. So, Casablanca, To Have and Have Not,
great movie.
Beautiful. And I will say this take till the day I die to speak on To Have and Have Not. Lauren Bacall is the most beautiful woman that's ever walked the face of this earth. I will hear no blasphemy otherwise. Lauren Bacall is utterly gorgeous.
She is not the most beautiful.
Dude,
not even of that decade.
That is a horrible take, and I will accept no blasphemy otherwise. 96. What's your favorite movie from 96?
Fargo, easily.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't see any real heavy hitters for me, and I can't even say I love Mission Impossible 1 that much, because I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
Sadly, I believe the 96 best picture in Evan's mind in terms of his favorite is going to go to Space Jam. So...
I'm just looking at the other nominees.
I do really like the Birdcage.
Stanzo.
I think the Birdcage is very good. I just don't
Twister?
know. I don't think I've ever watched Twister all the way through. Time to
James
Kill.
and the Giant Peach?
I've only watched it as a child. I watched it like once, and I always say I should go back and watch it, and I never do.
Yeah, there's not much, honestly.
That 96 is really highlighted by Independence Day.
I hate that movie.
I have no beef with that movie. I like that movie. It's not a a favorite of mine, but I like it. But 96 is one of those years that I'm looking and I'm kind of like, there's not a whole lot that I'm like, yeah. I just kind of go, okay, that was a year.
Yeah.
Hey friends, I know you're enjoying this show, but we want to prime you for a new show. Go check out the weekly schedule over at PT Creative and find your new favorite podcast or show to watch. Monday and Thursday, you get the Far Out Football podcast with news, analysis, and notes of the NFL season, plus great projects during the off season like draft analysis and what if questions like what if the NFL expanded. Tuesday, go to the ONETA Show for absurd takes and fun all around. The topics in entertainment, gaming, movies, television, you name it, ONETA Show is going to talk about it. Wednesday, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss and Oblivion Project, in which new Pokemon are being designed every single week as we create the Halzari Fakemon region. Friday, it's kind of a fun, laid-back day over at PT Creative. You can go open some brand new Pokemon card packs, or get some new specials and seasonal content coming your way on a Friday. And finish your week out with the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast on Saturdays. Get great movie recommendations, learn some movie history, and just have a grand old time listening to some dialogue. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun over on Saturdays, just like it is every single day over at PTE Creative. Go check out new podcasts, new content, new shows every single Monday through Saturday over at PTE Creative. Now enjoy the rest of your show. All right, we'll take you into 1997, which has one of the hardest hitting movies of all time in it, which is you will see reflected in the awards very much. Mm-hmm. But to set the scene outside of the most obvious pick of 1997, biggest box office hit at the time is Men in Black outside of our Best Picture winner. Fifth Element is in this. You're getting Boogie Nights. To an animated feature, you're going to Hercules. We're getting the ridiculousness of Austin Powers in 1997. And still making a ton of money. 20 years later, Star Wars Episode 4, the special edition, is released and is the fourth highest grossing movie domestically of the year. Is Star Wars Episode 4 because of the special editions. And then one that just for our Studio Ghibli fans, Princess Mononoke also comes out in 1997, wildly popular. Big time movies here in 97. And then none other than the greatest cinematic masterpiece to ever be created. Fuck Titanic, it's Batman and Robin. Obviously, the greatest hit movie of 1997. No, I hate that movie. It pains me that I am a huge Batman fan, and it's my wife's favorite Batman movie.
God.
It kills me in my soul every time I think about it. And I'm a ginger and I have no soul, and it hurts my soul.
Yeah. You got any changes?
I have 0 changes. I have one note on this entire year about the Oscars. Sucks not being Titanic this year.
Yeah. Yeah, for those people that don't know, Titanic just swept pretty much everything it was nominated for. It was nominated for 14 awards, which is tied for the most, and then it won 11, which is tied for the most wins. So it didn't win for actress, it didn't win for supporting actress, and it didn't win for makeup. But everything else it was nominated for won. And honestly, it deserved it.
In terms of Academy, it's one of the 3 greatest films of all time. Not in actuality, but in terms of the Academy's opinion of excellence, sure. It's tied with Ben-Hur and Return of the King. It's a big fucking deal. And there are good movies. The one thing I will say is, you would think in a year where a movie just comes out and sweeps across categories like that there isn't a whole lot of competition. That is not the case here. Good Will Hunting comes out during this time and wins some awards. Like, there is good movies in 97 to give Titanic some competition.
Yeah. So you didn't have any problems?
0. I can't argue. Okay. I can't argue that. I'm looking. The only one I could really see is I could see a nomination this movie's horrible, like I just said. It's an awful movie. But in terms of art direction, I could see a nomination for Batman Forever, or Batman and Robin, because I will give this. I have multiple times gone back and watched that movie for art direction, not for the film itself, and usually it's because I can also win brownie points and throw Ab a bone. I'm like, see, have we watched a movie you wanted to watch? But it's because the light, bright atmosphere really works well in a different tone of movie. And visually, it's stunning, especially with like the architecture of the buildings that they put in and the set pieces. So I could see a nomination, definitely not a fucking win for art direction. Other than that, that movie should never be touched ever for positivity, ever. But I could see a nomination for it.
For art direction, the nominees are actually pretty interesting. There's Gattaca, which that's a pretty interesting nomination.
Yeah.
Kundun, which is Scorsese movie. LA Confidential, Men in Black, surprise nominee.
Another one I thought of was Fifth Element. It's a bit shocking to me Fifth Element didn't get any recognition in terms of costuming or art direction or makeup.
Yeah.
I thought The Fifth Element would be a strong contender in that.
Yeah.
One of my wife's favorite
films.
films.
I didn't have any technical award changes. But for the other categories, you got James Cameron, Titanic. You got Jack Nicholson, As Good as It Gets. Helen Hunt, As Good as It Gets. Robin Williams, Good Will Hunting. And then Kim Basinger for LA Confidential for supporting actress.
And
I had two changes there.
All right, what do you got?
I would have picked Matt Damon over Jack Nicholson for Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
I think that's his best performance of his career.
Which is saying a lot.
In that movie.
Which says a lot because he's had a lot of great performances.
I don't know if he's ever given as much depth to any character he's ever had as much as that one.
I mean, it's a highly personal story. They wrote the fucking thing.
Yes, exactly. And I know Jack Nicholson's great. Is always great. But his performance in As Good as It Gets is not that great, honestly. Is it deserving of a nomination? I think so, but I don't know.
Does Jack Nicholson winning for As Good as It Gets feels like... Because he won before, but...
Oh, he won multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that feel almost another... Well, it's Nicholson and he's here. Kind of like what I was talking about with Tom Hanks in Apollo 13. If he's nominated in the category, he's going to get more recognition because of his past work. Does this feel like another moment in time where it feels like that?
I don't think so. I think well, there's two possibilities. I don't know if it is, but it could be a Miramax. Meaning the Weinsteins were dabbling in the Oscar stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or there are just performances in movies that just get this weird sweep of word of mouth out of nowhere during that year, where they just get caught up in this wave, and that's why they win. It happens every now and then for a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would pick Matt Damon. And then for supporting actress, I would have went with Julianne Moore in Boogie Nights.
Okay. Interesting.
And then just a couple shout-outs. I would have loved to see a nomination in Boogie Nights.
I'm sorry, for who in Boogie Nights?
John C. Reilly.
Okay.
And then also Mark Wahlberg in Boogie Nights for Best Actor.
Interesting. I don't think Mark Wahlberg should ever touch anything acting ever, so it's an interesting case.
I think that's one of the few movies where I think he's actually real deal acting.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of the few. I agree.
Yeah. I'm not usually happy when I see Mark Wahlberg in a movie.
Yeah. And then actual nominees for Best Picture: Titanic, As Good as It Gets; The Full Monty; Good Will Hunting; LA Confidential. No changes for you?
No changes. Don't know enough to change it. And okay. I know Titanic is obviously going to take that.
Yeah. I only changed one nominee. I would have put Boogie Nights in the full Monty, but yeah, Titanic would have won. So
Yeah. Interesting case there.
what's your favorite movie, though?
A little bit better competition for me. At least there's a couple movies that I've seen and enjoy. Still, the Bond fan comes out of me. Tomorrow Never Dies. I have a real soft spot for that movie.
The movie sucks.
I disagree with that. I think it's better than people give it credit for. I think it's already, you're playing in a genre which is Bond films. Bond films have their own genre to begin with.
I would agree.
And then it doesn't even fit really well in the Bond genre because they go with a very heavy like Asian film influence in a lot of that film, especially with the pacing and the action sequences. They're very different compared to many Bond films. I'm utterly in love with Michelle Yeoh. I think anything Michelle Yeoh touches is pretty much brilliant, and I adore her in that film.
I think she's wasted in that movie, though.
Oh, I think there could have been a lot more of Michelle Yeoh. But I think Michelle Yeoh is, in a weird way, Michelle Yeoh will never get enough credit for even the little bit that she did there. Because Michelle Yeoh allows people to believe what is obvious, that women can be badass, that women can be action heroes. When you watch Michelle Yeoh on screen, you don't think, "Oh, there's a woman doing something," like a lot of older moviegoers would. You just go, "That woman's fucking badass, and I want to see her do as much as possible." And the fact that even like when she shows up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, the whole time I'm like, please tell me they got Michelle Yeoh in this fucking movie. Please tell me they got Michelle Yeoh in this movie, because it'd be wasted not to have her in that film. And anytime I see Michelle Yeoh on screen, I immediately just go,
yeah,
happy
she's finally
camper.
getting some credit, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, she is undoubtedly one of the most underrated actresses for so long because she's good in everything that she does.
Okay.
Last year. Is Titanic your favorite film of '97?
No, I would say Good Will Hunting.
Fair. I didn't know if anything could top Titanic for you.
Only because Robin Williams. I think that's his best performance.
You have such... I'm not saying it's undeserved, but you have such a soft spot for Robin Williams. It just...
Yes.
It really hits home for you, Robin Williams, for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably my favorite actor of all time. So.
Wow, okay, that's respectful. Howdy, fellow PT creative fans out there. We have a project near and dear to our hearts that we really want you to check out. Over on our YouTube channel, you can go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project. It's one of our favorite projects we've ever gotten the chance to work on, where we're creating new Pokemon on a weekly basis and creating our own Fakemon region. They're called the Helzari region. There you're going to see new starter Pokemon, or as you can see to your right if you're on video, a new Eevee evolution. So many cool new Pokemon and vibes are going to be found here on the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, and it's going to help your day out. Go support some art that you would love to see. Go check out the Pokemon Bliss Oblivion Project, available every single Wednesday on PT Creative. Go check it out now.
Yep.
All right, 1998 set the scene for you. A lot of unique films coming out during this time, in which Truman Show, Pleasantville, Big Lebowski, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, all very unique, different films for their time frame. Your comedies are Something About Mary, or There's Something About Mary, is by far the biggest comedy hit of the year. You're seeing emergence of Wes Anderson with Rushmore, which is really his first bigger film during that time. Then you're getting a lot of big box office that isn't great, but speaks big box office, such as Armageddon, Dr. Dolittle, Matthew Broderick's Godzilla is involved in this as well.
Oh, good.
And then you're getting some higher end animation with Mulan, Rugrats movie, Prince of Egypt. And a note that I needed to speak on that was insane. Also, another really unique movie that never gets enough credit is What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. I'm sure you've seen that as such a Robin Williams fan.
Actually won Best Visual Effects that year.
It did. So I have notes on that one. Another shout out to one of my favorite movies of all time.
Although, I think it won Best Visual Effects for 1999.
We'll have to look on that one. But
I'll look right now.
and then one of the most interesting notes here. Also, we're seeing the advent of the more serious comic book movie. Is Blade is released in 1998, but insane here. Do you want to know what re-release made $28.4 million at the box office that year, Dylan? Fucking Grease. Grease made almost $30 million in a re-release in 98. And 28 mil is no joke in 1998. On a re-release.
20-year anniversary? That makes sense, I guess.
I looked at it, I was like, I'm flabbergasted it made that much money. On a re-release, specifically. Grease is a great movie. I love Grease.
Yeah. What Dreams May Come did win visual effects in 98? Armageddon and Mighty Joe Young.
So for outside the big six, art direction, please remind me what wins for art direction that year, because I have two nominees that I think are better.
I'm almost going to guarantee it's Shakespeare.
I believe it is Shakespeare in Love, and I think that's utter horseshit. I think what I've seen of Shakespeare in Love, not shitting on the movie entirely, but it's just not my cup of tea as much. Art direction, I think Pleasantville and What Dreams May Come are both nominated. I think Pleasantville has a stronger case in that. Pleasantville, to me, I've said this offhandedly, is the scariest movie of all time because it's so off-putting. Pleasantville is... Like, if you put me in a Pleasantville situation, that would scare me more than most horror film things. Like,
Sure.
Pleasantville would freak me out more. But I think it perfectly sets up that... Pleasantville's art direction perfectly sets up that film and really allows you to be immersed in that movie. And what I would have picked as a winner, because it would be so... I think, to me, it's an achievement, is striking the balance of the dreamscape that is What Dreams May Come, along with you need to have it concrete enough that people can really buy into the tangibility of it. What Dreams May Come is utterly gorgeous and is a beautiful art direction and really deserves a lot of credit for what it did. I get it that they won for visual effects. That might be more visual effects than art direction itself, but I would go either of those films over Shakespeare in Love. To me, Shakespeare in Love, again, felt very much Miramax interference, and we're going with the period piece epic because it's the period piece epic.
Yeah, and this year especially is like Miramax is just getting involved, to say the least.
Okay.
If anyone's really interested in the Oscars, there's a great book called Oscar Wars. It was just written a couple years ago where they talk about the 98 Oscars and how Harvey Weinstein just went above and beyond to do everything he could to get Shakespeare in Love nominated and get Gwyneth Paltrow the win. But I don't have a problem necessarily with Shakespeare in Love winning. It's just the obvious choice, really.
Okay.
The only one I said I would have...
I do have some more as well, but finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Original song, a nom for Make a Man Out of You from Mulan, I think really deserves to be in that.
Sure, I'd agree.
I think I don't know what it is about that song, but especially in our age group, that is one of the most well-known and popular Disney songs there are. Yes. And it's just really left a mark on our generation of moviegoers. I think it's an incredible song. And I still listen to it. I mean, shit, my friends and I went to a cabin during the pandemic together, and it was right before we all left to go our separate ways as everyone was becoming something else. And half our group decided to take acid that day. And
fun.
Hence the reason I'm not speaking any names whatsoever in this. I'm straight edge. I didn't partake. I babysat all day. But one of the most endearing memories I will ever have in my life is one of my friends brought their VR headset, Bluetoothed it to the TV, and because of the acid, they couldn't play. They tried, and they're like, I can't do this.
I would assume.
And I was playing Beat Saber, and it was the setup was in the basement. The stairs were right next to the couch, and then they were watching on the TV, and they would just scream songs down the stairs, and I'd play them for them. And one of the most popular ones we did all day was Make a Man Out of You on Beat Saber, and they're all on acid going, "This is incredible, man!" and I'm playing Beat Saber to a fucking Disney tune, and I'm like, "This is awesome!" Like, I think Make a Man Out of You is such an incredible song and deserved a nomination. And then one that not only do I think deserves a nomination, I'd still like to be reminded who the nominees in the writing category are.
Which one, adapted or original?
Original. I have...
Original. We got Bulworth, Life is Beautiful, Saving Private Ryan, Shakespeare in Love, and The Truman Show.
And which one?
Shakespeare in Love.
Fucking kidding me? Okay, but...
Harvey Weinstein, dude.
The fact that it wasn't even nominated... Above all of them, I think for writing specifically, American History X really deserves to not only be nominated, but to win. American History X is a masterpiece. It is.
Is that original?
I believe so, because I've looked it up to make sure I was picking the right category, but it's based off of someone's life, but they don't have any previous work out about it. They just wrote the screenplay.
That's surprising, because that has a book written all over it.
Oh, yeah. And American History X is one of the most gritty, impactful films I think anybody could watch. Mm-hmm. And it is such a strong movie. Performances are great, but the writing specifically, top notch, creme de la creme. It deserves it over anything in that category, in my opinion.
I would disagree, only because that's one of my changes.
Okay.
I said I would have had The Big Lebowski win.
Okay.
The original screenplay.
Okay.
I think The Big Lebowski is one of the best written comedies in film history.
Okay.
It is amazing. Jeff Bridges is like transcendent in the role as the dude. Yeah, I actually would say The Big Lebowski I like more than Fargo for Coen Brothers, which is saying something.
That's a big deal for you, man. I didn't know how much of a Fargo fan you were until 20 minutes ago when we taped this, 30 minutes ago when we were taping this.
Just Coen Brothers. I would have it 3 or 4 movies in my top 50 of them.
Okay. I mean, that's definitely an interesting one to go with, but it's an inspired choice.
And then the only other one I had, I would have been nice to see a nomination song for If You Ever Did Believe. I don't know if you've seen the movie Practical Magic with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock.
I've seen bits of Practical Magic.
The song is sung by Stevie Nicks, so that's why.
That's got awesome written all over it, dude.
Yeah, also, it's a Stevie Nicks song, so.
I try very hard to not sound like a stereotypical dude on these shows. Practical Magic era, holy shit, are both Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman fucking hot. Practical Magic, they are gorgeous. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That's like a Halloween movie.
Now.
It's just like spooky but cozy.
Is now the right time to share one of my favorite stories ever in which you were a part of, revolving around Nicole Kidman?
Sure, yeah. I don't know when else you're going to be able to talk about it.
So, 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away. He was the most stereotypical, grumpy-ass Midwesterner I think I've ever met. However, he had some of the most ridiculously funny, gruff one-liners I've ever heard in my entire life. That motherfucker was funny. But it was because he was in this old man curmudgeon energy. First time Dylan ever meets my father-in-law, Mark. All Mark knows, Mark's one of those classic Midwestern dads that because it's not in his worldview, he remembers one detail about you and that's what he wants to talk about. Because he just doesn't know what else to talk about. And he knows Dylan doesn't want to talk to many people. He's not a big people person. Dylan, out of nowhere, agrees to come help myself and my wife move. And my father-in-law and my mother-in-law are there as well. We're in the van and we're transporting a think it was a mattress to just find a place to dump it, and we illegally dumped it in the middle of Milwaukee. All three of us. He just said, "We're doing it now!" And we all ran out and just went, "Fuck!" Threw it away and then sped off. And Mark's trying to talk to Dylan, and he's like, "So, I hear you're a big movie fan or whatever." And I don't know how. Dylan kind of gets into the conversation. And Mark, out of nowhere, goes, Nicole Kidman, she's in that newer movie, right? And Dylan's like, "Oh, yeah, I think she's actually pretty good in it, whatever." He's like, "Yeah, Nicole Kidman, wouldn't even cross the street for her. Don't get it." just out of nowhere, wouldn't even cross the street for her. And I was just like, I understand everybody and like, Dylan and I just have to both silently laugh and look at each other like, I didn't even know a statement like that could be made about a person.
Yeah.
Well, it was so fucking funny and ridiculous in the moment.
Yes, and let's just say he was a below average looking man.
Yes, that's fair to say.
Say that about to say that about Nicole Kidman is the funny part.
Yes. And it was just the absurdity that endeared me so much. And I know you fell in love with him from that moment on because you just knew he was a wild card that was going to say some wild shit from time to time.
Yeah.
But just the absurdity of whether, like, everyone has their own sensibility and their own taste in what they find attractive, and all of that goes into so many different aspects of our life, right? But to have even the logic that, like, I can't even understand why anyone would find Nicole Kidman attractive was just so utterly ridiculous on its surface. Like, I'm not over here worshiping at the altar of Nicole Kidman, but I'm still like, that's an attractive woman. You have to admit that. And for him to just, like, baseline, just say, no, not even close, was fucking hysterical in so many ways that I can't even describe. It was one of my favorite memories of just mixing two people who never mix and both falling in love with each other for wildly different reasons. Yeah. It was incredible. God, it was incredible. Oh, so much fun. We'll transition back from Nicole Kidman slander to our Oscar coverage here, and we're now Big Six territory here.
So, director Steven Spielberg for Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
Actor Roberto Benigni for Life is Beautiful. Actress Gwyneth Paltrow, Shakespeare in Love. Supporting actor James Coburn for Affliction. And supporting actress Judi Dench, Shakespeare in Love.
I have one additional nominee I would like in a category. I think Jim Carrey deserves a nom for Truman Show. He is incredible.
That's one I had down as well.
He's incredible in the Truman Show. There's just such an earnest performance that just makes you fall in love with this person so much and really plays so well to the innocence being exploited in that film. And it is absolutely beautiful to watch his performance.
Yeah. I had two changes, both to the supporting actor and actress. I think one of the things about, like, the best actor win for Roberto Benigni, he always gets shit because he won. I think it's because, like, everyone attacks what's always, like, overly sentimental nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, that's why Forrest Gump gets so much hate, I think.
I don't understand why anyone would hate that. But
yeah, Roberto Benigni, Life is Beautiful is, like, literally a comedy set in the Holocaust.
Oh, it's a difficult film. Yeah.
So, like, I think the sentimental part of it works wonders. I have no problem with that.
My beef with that movie is not the movie's fault. It's a English teacher's fault. So.
Okay.
I'll tell that story in a second.
Okay. Yeah, I would have picked John Goodman for Big Lebowski as supporting actor.
Okay.
I think he's amazing in The Big Lebowski. One of the most iconic performances. And then for supporting actress, I don't have a problem with Judi Dench. It's just she's not in enough of the movie.
Okay.
Like, I think she's in like 2 scenes, 3 scenes. It's not much.
Oh, so this was a campaign one, is what you're kind of saying?
Oh yeah, 100%. And then the one that won Best Supporting Actor, James, that was a lot of a lifetime achievement kind of thing. Because he was like in his 90s when he won. So.
And it was we need to make this work kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, he's good in the movie. I would say it's Oscar caliber performance, but it's clearly one of those lifetime kind of things.
As a quick sidebar, we've talked about this already. There are so many times in Oscar history where it feels like someone deserves for something they don't deserve to win for because they didn't win when they should have won.
Yeah.
That's not to take away from the fact that the current performance that they win for is bad. Is there any... It doesn't have to be in depth, but are there any situations where you think someone wins the Lifetime Achievement Award style win when they shouldn't even been nominated for the work that they were nominated in the first place?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I think it's such a hard dynamic in which you want to reward someone for good work. And then the human element comes in and they get it for something they probably shouldn't have won it for. And then, like, I always think of it this way, like, for years online, the whole commentary was, Leonardo DiCaprio, how has he never won an Oscar? He deserves to win an Oscar. And then he won one for Revenant, which I've yet to see that film. Because I'm just like, I don't know why.
He's great in it.
And I know he's great in it. And I did hear occasional commentary, I can't comment on myself, where people were like, The Revenant's really good, and he's really good in it. I still think he should have won for this beforehand, and this feels, even though he's great in it, this feels like makeup work for the stuff he didn't win in the past. You know, have there been any cases, in your opinion, where you just go, this person shouldn't have been nominated for this movie, and they got it, and then won because of Lifetime Achievement?
I'm sure there's at least one. I can't think of one offhand. I'd have to go through all the winners in the past years, but I'm almost guaranteeing there's one because there's a lot of times when someone dies and then gets a nomination.
Because they died?
Like Heath Ledger was going to get a nomination no matter what. But he did die and then got a nomination, and then he ended up winning. That's just one example. There's a lot of...
Yeah, that's the positive of we're still recognizing someone's work because this was so impeccable that he has to win, not only be nominated.
Yes, there is quite a few times when people get nominations like that. So I'm betting there's probably one that did win that didn't deserve it.
Okay, yeah, it's just, I always think it's really hard when that conversation comes up to lose sight.
Actually, I could argue in... I think it's 92, Jack Palance, who's like...
Is that for City Slickers?
Yeah, or 91 for City Slickers. He won Best Supporting Actor. I mean, that's not a standout role or anything. Like, is he good in it? Yeah, sure. But is he fantastic?
Well, it's the same thing as I look at it this way. You know, I think Robert Downey Jr.'s great in every Iron Man role he takes. That doesn't mean his Iron Man performances are Oscar worthy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think Chris Evans is a phenomenal Captain America. I just don't think every time he's Captain America he should be nominated for an Oscar, right? So I always want to try to keep sight on that because I think it's so easy to get super negative about Lifetime Achievement Awards because it paints it in this like they didn't deserve to win, and you're like, yes, they didn't. And this was a makeup award. This is no different than a makeup call in a football game or whatever. Like, oh, I kind of boned you on this one, so your boss throws you a bone the next time around when scheduling comes out, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean there isn't high-quality stuff when they're nominated and win the Lifetime Award that they shouldn't have won that year. So, it's just an interesting one to have.
To answer that question, I'd say Jack Palance.
Yeah. Okay. But, nomination was ridiculous. Wasn't even really deserved, and then to win was like, what?
But I mean, I'm sure he was in his 90s. There wasn't going to be another chance for him.
I mean, Jack Palance, I don't know how old he was, because just a couple years before City Slickers, he does Batman, and he's old in that movie. He's menacing in that movie. I like it. I love him in that movie, but
there's a whole conspiracy around him in the Oscars where people thought he announced the wrong name when Marissa won for supporting actress. Everyone's like, oh, he was confused. He announced the wrong name. But it's like, no, that's not how it works. Because everyone's like, oh, she doesn't deserve it. But
I mean, they clearly showed it a couple of years ago. Who was it that announced the wrong name and they corrected it? It's like, oh,
that was the Moonlight La La Land thing. Yeah,
where
Warren Beatty announced the wrong thing.
And you're like, ooh.
But that was because he was given the envelope that said Emma La La Land. So, different thing.
Yeah, different reason, different thing. But like they will correct it if it's wrong. They're not just gonna.
Yes.
They're not gonna roll with it and just say like, yeah, we definitely all picked that, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's certainly an interesting vibe.
I don't think I ever said what I would change about an actress. So instead of Judi Dench, I would put Laura Linney in The Truman Show.
Fair.
I think she's great in that.
The Truman Show is such an underrated film.
It is.
And The Truman Show is, to me, a perfect example of why, I think, oddly enough, streaming services really do this, make us all do this even more, because then we only see them in this light. I look at a lot of young actors, and I'm truly concerned that a lot of young actors that have a lot of talent are never going to make that jump from streaming service darling of one genre to, oh, wow, they're making...
Sure.
Oh God, what's her name? It's like Lana Condor or something like that, where she does like the Kissing Booth, or not the Kissing Booth, all the boys that love the summer, like whatever.
Yeah.
I think she's a really talented actress. I'm not saying she's like Academy worthy or anything like that, but I think she's a really talented actress. I've liked her, and there's something likable in everything she's ever done. And I think because she's just been seen in this like, oh, I'm the rom-com girl for Netflix. She's never going to get past that. It just feels like, where there was even a commercial lately where it's for like I think it's for like Verizon or like a cell phone carrier or something like that. Oh, I'm the rom-com girl. You're like, that's not a positive if people are just going to get stuck in this thing. And I just think The Truman Show is a perfect example of why you can't pigeonhole a lot of these actors into something. That's the first real dramatic role Jim Carrey takes on, where he still has all his lovable charm. He's still 90s, holy shit, this is a comedic force of nature. And yet, there's something so endearing about his performance that's not just, I'm Ace Ventura Pet Detective and I'm fucking crazy. Like, and Ed Harris, same deal. He's usually seen as like hard-ass military man. Ed Harris plays these like hard-ass, badass roles. That's not what that role is in Truman Show at all.
He's actually really similar in that role to his character in Apollo 13.
Okay.
Because he plays the NASA like command center guy who's in charge there.
Naturally.
They're like almost the same character. But he's great in both movies. And then I just wanted to shout out one more. I would like to see a nomination for Joan Allen for Pleasantville. I think she's great in that movie.
Pleasantville, again, highly underrated film. I think it's one of those films that... I look at this with the streaming services now, where there's a movie that kind of lives this like extra life for like 3 or 4 years after it comes out, where people are like, oh shit, that's here? And then it just slowly fades. And then like 15, 20 years from now, someone watches it and they just go, this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
I just kind of watched this on a whim and holy shit, that was a really good movie. You know, I had that same thing with Interview. It's the same thing I had with Interview 15 years after it came out, where I caught it on terrestrial television and went, this is a really good movie. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a hidden gem.
Yeah, and it's so many of the... I think that's where some of the Oscars kind of fail is the hidden gems that deserve recognition. They're going to stay hidden gems because of that. And then those are the movies you almost wish got more recognition because it would make them take that extra step.
Yeah.
Whereas
I think that's what they're getting better at, though.
Yeah, and then there's other stuff like, again, let's get to Best Picture, because Shakespeare in Love is, I know, a controversial one, to say the least.
So, actual nominees were Shakespeare in Love, Saving Private Ryan, Elizabeth, Life is Beautiful, and The Thin Red Line, with Shakespeare in Love winning.
Is that a warranted win?
In my mind, no. I do enjoy the movie. I actually would say I like it, but I wouldn't say it's the best of the year.
Does it deserve Does it deserve a nomination? Is there anything you would replace it with?
No, I did replace two things, but Shakespeare in Love was not one.
Okay.
So I replaced Elizabeth, and I replaced The Thin Red Line, which is a Terrence Malick World War II movie. I kind of find it boring, to be quite honest. Terrence Malick, for me, he's really hit and miss. So I would have put in The Truman Show, and I would have put in The Big Lebowski.
Fair.
So my nominees would have been Saving Private Ryan, Shakespeare in Love, Life is The Truman Show, and The Big Lebowski.
Fair. I think...
And then winning, I have Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan almost gets this... kind of gets a minor dose of the Shawshank Redemption territory, in which, because it didn't win and people thought that was bullshit...
Yes.
It lives this like extra life where they're like, fuck you, Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, it does.
Saving Private Ryan's way better. And
that's why everyone says Shakespeare in Love is shit, even though it's not. It's a good movie.
It's just... What is the big controversy here? Did Harvey Weinstein just essentially buy his way and campaign his way into getting this movie
well, he's like,
nominated and winning?
He's the one who, like... There had always been like campaigning, but like he really like put millions of dollars into marketing, special screenings, and events like where Gwyneth Paltrow would show up, stuff like that. So he's like doing meet and greets and shit like that,
trying to buy good
I'm
feelings.
sure there was behind the scenes dirty shit going on as well. Knowing him.
It's Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. And you have to assume that. I mean, this is off topic, but it has Harvey Weinstein involved, where I just saw a story in which Winona Ryder, her agent at the time, like screamed at her because she took a meeting with Harvey Weinstein about a movie, and she just extended her hand to shake her hand, and apparently he thought that was like utterly ridiculous and disgusting, and then she went to go talk to her agent about the thing, and the agent just started screaming at her, like, what the fuck did you do? You pissed him off. And apparently it was all because she extended her hand to shake his hand, show respect. It's just like, I don't know how true that story is, but like that's kind of, it fits the Harvey Weinstein kind of thing where he just thought he was here and everybody else was here.
Yeah.
And that's the way he treated people, specifically women in the industry. But yeah, Shakespeare in Love is just a movie in which I like Shakespeare. I'm interested in trying to watch projects that are Shakespeare. Super, super, super faithful adaptations generally aren't the way to go for me. I like having some fun with them.
Shakespeare in Love is not faithful to
anything.
Real life Shakespeare.
Yeah, I know this is very much playing to life of just Shakespeare during the time that he's writing Romeo and Juliet and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Anything I've ever seen of Shakespeare in Love, I just go, this movie... I can pass on this movie. I don't need to watch this. And that's sad. And that's not what you want from your Best Picture winner. Your Best Picture winner, even if you don't love it, you should still be able to see the appeal. And a lot of Shakespeare in Love, I just kind of go, I don't even know why anyone would really want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
To me, this seems like this... Shakespeare in Love, I could be completely wrong. And I'm saying this uneducated-wise. I'm saying this as someone who's avoided the movie because it just never even has enough appeal for me even to go, oh, I'll try it. just so often it's what a lot of writers, it looks like what a lot of writers would be. It's just silly love drivel. That's what it looks like, set in a period piece.
There's some good stuff in it, but there's a lot of schmaltz, I would say.
Okay.
So it definitely has its demographic. I'll put it that way.
Gotcha. And yeah, it's just one of those movies where no one even really wants to watch it or no one really wants to talk about it. So that's why I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably most relevant just by saying Saving Private Ryan should have won it over it.
By far. I mean, it's again, I think again, it's an English patient case where it's most relevant because somebody else said something about it.
Yeah.
That was relevant. Where people looked at Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan and going, holy fuck, this movie's great. How the fuck did this not win? Oh, that movie?
Yeah.
And it's remembered
and
for
I don't think Saving Private Ryan is amazing. I think it's a really good movie, but I think it kind of peaks with the opening, actually. Like, the opening Omaha Beach scene is the best part of the movie.
And that's probably not one. Would you say 98 is a strong movie year for the Oscars or a weaker movie year?
It's like middle of the road, I'd say. It's stronger than 95 and 96, I'd say. But it's weaker than 97 and 94 to me. So
well,
it's in the middle.
94 is kind of one of those fabled years where it's like, holy shit, this category's stacked. Life is Beautiful always has a tinge for me. Do you remember good old Miss Starkle at Oshkosh North High School?
I don't think I had her, no.
Well, I think by the time you got there, she had remarried and taken the last name Salvia. So, Salvia. Or Mrs. Salvia.
Still, I don't think I had her.
I got real beef with her. I think she was a horrible teacher.
Nice thing to say.
When you're bad at your job, you're bad at your job. I don't think she really knew how to connect with people. I don't think she really knew how to teach people. I almost never call people out by name in a personal setting like this. I'll do it because
that's true.
I will because I have that much visceral, like, you fucking suck. I was in an honors English class. We had 4 hours of a final. Yeah, 4. And in the weirdest time to argue, I want to protect the integrity of the film, we had to write a 5-page essay for the final on the same day that we watched Life is Beautiful. And she refused to watch a dubbed copy. We had to watch in the original Italian with subtitles.
Well, I'll agree with her on that.
But is that the proper setting to do that? I'm all for watching it in its original format when you're just purely watching the movie. You're talking about 15-year-olds writing an essay for school in high school.
Yeah, I think
not the time to go.
That's a weird choice for an English class as well.
And I was just like, hold on. So we're taking this giant leap in which I can see a college professor doing that. But in college, you have time to prepare. You understand what you're doing. You're more mature. You know, like, that's. And she always said, "Oh, you're doing college level work." I'm like, but we're not. You're making yourself feel better by saying we're doing college level work, and the vast majority of us are not.
Sure.
And in that moment, when we have limited time, you have to essentially read and get the entire message of the movie and write notes, all because you're reading English subtitles to an Italian film, and then take them and go write a 5-page essay in 2 hours. It's like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Sure. I'd agree with that.
And to give you context, I did not do well in her class. And I have never looked so bad, and I would say it's probably the outlier due to that one, not because of me. So, the first week of the second semester, I watched the first half of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and then I transferred back to normal English classes, and I looked like a fucking genius compared to everyone else.
That is a weird choice for an English class. I don't understand that.
Again, priorities. Look at the priorities. I have no beef with Life is Beautiful, the movie. I have a beef with fucking Salvia, or as she was known as Starkle at the time, right?
Sure.
But to this day, in my head, for the majority of my now lifetime, I've gone, fuck Life is Beautiful, because of that moment.
Well, what do you actually think of the movie, though?
I couldn't even tell you. I just remember scenes. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I was just like, I'm into film. I want to watch these movies. I like watching experimental film. I like watching epics. I like watching all these films that many people in our age group and our demographic do not want to watch. I want to watch those movies because I love the... That's why I agree with your Forrest Gump take. Sure, it's a romantic, fun... Sentimental piece about one man's life.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I would love to see that in Life is Beautiful. And to this day, all I can think of is, fuck you, because...
Yeah.
Because, again, the priority was wrong for the time.
Yeah. Some movies get tainted, unfortunately.
That's how it goes, man. There's so many movies that due to the time frame, I'm like, fuck you, and fuck, like, and everybody has that, like, ugh, because of other circumstances in their life. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just an outlier, who knows, but...
True.
But yeah. Favorite movie of 98? Where are you at on that one?
Mine's The Big Lebowski.
I was going to say, I'm sensing Lebowski's in here because you talk a lot about good positive feedback for the Lebowski.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to my all-time favorite streaming movie ever. It immediately takes place on my television. If I'm home and I'm on a streaming service and I see it, it immediately goes on. Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, Mask of Zorro.
Okay. Hey, finally one I can agree.
Mask of Zorro is so goddamn good. And Catherine Zeta-Jones in that movie. Very nice. But that movie is incredible. Incredible. And completely justifies why I was Zorro in the first grade for Halloween.
That's the first one, not the second one, correct?
First one, yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. Second one I remember not being great.
The second one I've only seen parts of because I know it is brutal.
Yeah.
The Mask of Zorro is utterly incredible. So good. So good.
How about if you had to recommend one movie from the 5 years we covered?
Oh, Oscars specifically?
Yeah.
Of the movies that were recommended in the Oscars. I'm just going to look over it quick.
Anything we mentioned.
Anything we mentioned. So, I think the favorite movies kind of do that, so I'm going to stay away from the favorite movies because I don't want to just say, well, I like it, so that means it's good. Because some of my picks, you would argue, no. I think the ones that I would recommend the most out of what we talked about that had some Oscar-worthy qualities, Interview with the Vampire, I think, is wildly underrated and incredible, especially coming into this time of year. And a second one that just seems to be lost to history is What Dreams May Come. What Dreams May Come is a beautiful, beautiful film that will leave an impression on you if you watch it and give it.
Robin Williams, can't go wrong.
And that's a heavy movie. That's not like a light Robin Williams gets to be Robin Williams movie. That's
don't go in expecting a lot of laughs.
Oh, you are going to be heartbroken. You are going to be faced with a lot of existential crises. Yeah. That is the movie. It's just tremendous. And we talked about it a lot, but Truman Show. Those would be the three of the more Academy-esque ones that I would say, yeah, American History X would be another one that I think is great.
Yeah.
And then you heard all my takes on movies I like. So.
Yeah, I'd probably say I don't think enough people have seen Trainspotting.
Yep.
And I don't think enough people have seen Boogie Nights.
Both of which I know are good and I've never watched, so perfect example.
I know everyone raves about modern Paul Thomas Anderson, but I don't know how many people actually go back and... So, that's one of his early films. I think it's worthy.
I think what's really interesting is seeing... This is a good exercise, oddly enough, with the intro pieces to show movies at the time. This is a really good exercise to see where and how director aura is built. It takes 4, 5, 6 films before people start going, I'm going to that movie because of the director. You know?
Yeah.
And I think the fact...
Or you can strike it hot and then fizzle quick.
Right. because I'm looking, Wes Anderson really doesn't hit and become Wes Anderson until Life Aquatic.
Yeah.
And Rushmore is a great movie. I love Rushmore.
I agree,
I love a lot of his early work. Same thing, looking at with Fincher and Seven. That's his coming out party, and then Fight Club and everything else that David Fincher does. It's important. Like when David Fincher makes a movie, you know it's important. You go, oh shit,
Yeah.
I gotta go watch that. But it's crazy to see how many of those directors that are the directors that are marketed as like, whoa, these directors. Even to this day, all their roots are back in the 90s, and we're now 25 years removed. From 25 to 30 years in some cases removed from when they were first starting out and starting that profile. So it's just a really interesting thing to see. This is really enjoyable. I actually really, really loved getting to do this.
Good.
I had a lot of reservations because, as you could clearly tell as a watcher or as a viewer, this was not my wheelhouse. This was Dylan's wheelhouse.
Yes.
But I think we balanced it pretty well because I'm someone who just loves movies and can give some opinions. But like I said, I didn't know Shine was a movie. I didn't know some of those movies. I was like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of those every season.
But it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited to get into those mid 2000s years where it's just kind of like, what? I can't wait until we get to Crash. I can't wait for that take.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know it's one of the most controversial in history.
Yeah, to say the least.
I was going to say, isn't American Beauty also pretty controversial in 99, right?
Not really. People respect it. It's just controversial now because who stars in it?
Right. But that'll be really interesting. Next month is when we're going to do our next Oscars opinions and retrospectives show. It's going to be fun in October. We'll be covering 1999 to 2003, which should be a really interesting time period to go forth, and we get to end with one of the legitimately greatest films of all time in that, which True. I will have plenty of opinions on that one, but nonetheless, that's going to be really great. And you don't have to wait all month to get a new show. You can see us weekly because we are here every single Saturday for us. Please go check us out there. Check out our socials. Go check out every other piece of content. We have content Monday through Saturday here for us. But continue watching and listening to the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast. We thoroughly enjoyed you having here. Go watch a great movie, folks. Peace, love, and hugs. Bye!